Welcome back, Nation of Glory. Today, I'm bringing you a story that rises from a world of struggle, discipline, and fire, one that comes from far beyond bright lights, beyond championship stages, beyond the world most of us get to see. This is the journey of a fighter forged in hardship, sharpened through pain, and elevated by pure will. A man who refused to bend even when life itself tried to break him. A man the world now knows as Ilja Dragunov, the WWE superstar whose intensity seems to reach beyond the limits of the human spirit. But the story doesn't start in arenas. It doesn't start with cameras or championships or roaring crowds. It begins in a place where dreams are fragile and survival itself feels like a battle. Ilja Rukober was born far away from the global stage he stands on now, in a world caught between cultures, histories, and the fight for identity. Growing up Russian and German, he learned early that life would never hand him anything easily. He had to carve his own path, one painful step at a time, with only determination as his companion. From a young age, Ilja wasn't the biggest. He wasn't the strongest. He didn't have the resources others had. But he possessed something far more powerful, a spirit that refused to surrender. A spirit that would one day make him one of the most intense wrestlers to ever step into a ring. When he discovered wrestling, it wasn't just a sport. It wasn't even entertainment. It was something deeper. It was an outlet for his fire, a channel for the emotion he carried, a place where he could transform struggle into power. As a teenager, he faced something many never understand, the experience of being caught between worlds. Having moved from Russia to Germany at a young age, he had to adapt to a new environment, a new language, new people, new expectations. But instead of being defeated by the challenge, he embraced it. He used the discomfort to push himself further. He learned resilience not through victories, but through surviving the unknown. And that resilience would become his greatest weapon. When Ilja began training, he wasn't seen as a prodigy or a rising star. He was a kid with passion. A kid with intensity. A kid willing to endure more pain than anyone else just to get better. He trained with a level of discipline that felt almost unreal. He took every fall, every hit, every bruise as a lesson. While others trained to become wrestlers, Ilja trained to become a force, something unbreakable. During these early years, he formed a mindset that would define his career. Not the mindset of entertainment, but the mindset of survival. Every match was a battle. Every opponent was a mountain. Every day inside the training ring was a test of whether he was strong enough to continue. And every day, he proved that he was. His journey through the independent wrestling scene wasn't glamorous. It wasn't filled with spotlights or crowds chanting his name. It was raw. It was gritty. It was real. Small venues, cold gyms, long drives, little pay, and constant exhaustion. But Ilja didn't care about the circumstances. He cared about the craft. He cared about becoming something extraordinary. And slowly, people began to take notice. There was something different about him, something that couldn't be taught. His intensity wasn't just physical, it radiated from his presence. It was in his eyes, his movements, the way he walked into the ring as if stepping into war. Spectators didn't just watch him, they felt him. Every strike, every scream, every moment carried emotion that reached beyond the ring. He wasn't performing, he was expressing. As Ilja continued rising through the European scene, he built a reputation not as a typical wrestler, but as a phenomenon. The crowds didn't just cheer him, they reacted to him. They saw the rawness in him, the passion, the fight for identity, the battle against his own limits. For every challenge that appeared, Ilja rose higher. Every barrier became motivation. Every doubt became fuel. Eventually, his name traveled far beyond Germany. People began whispering about the man who didn't just wrestle, he transformed wrestling into a living form of art. And those whispers echoed far enough to reach the world's biggest stage. WWE came calling. When Ilja Dragunov arrived in WWE's NXT UK brand, the world got its first taste of what true intensity looks like. He wasn't just another newcomer. He was a storm wrapped into human form. His matches weren't just fights, they were emotional journeys. You could see it in the way he moved, the way he absorbed pain, the way he delivered strikes like he was releasing every memory of struggle he ever carried. But the moment that changed everything, the moment, was his rivalry with Walter, a clash of titans that shook the wrestling world. Their battle didn't look choreographed. It didn't look rehearsed. It looked like two warriors fighting for their lives. The brutality, the emotion, the sheer physical toll of their matches made them unforgettable. And when Ilja Dragunov finally defeated Walter to become NXT UK champion, it wasn't just a victory. It was history. It was redemption. It was proof that fire, when controlled with purpose, becomes unstoppable. Ilja stood there, bloodied, bruised, battered, tears mixing with sweat, the crowd roaring, his chest marked with the proof of his struggle, his eyes filled with something deeper than triumph. It was the look of a man who had carried the weight of his whole life into that ring, and finally let it go. That moment didn't just elevate him. It revealed him. From there, Ilja brought his intensity to NXT, delivering match after match that fans still talk about today. He wasn't the biggest, but he fought with the heart of someone twice his size. He wasn't the loudest, but the emotion in his presence spoke louder than any promo ever could. He wasn't the flashiest, but his authenticity lit the entire arena. And then came his move to SmackDown. Ilja Dragunov arrived not as a newcomer, not as a hopeful, but as a warrior ready to carve his place in WWE's grandest spotlight. And soon, he achieved something monumental. He captured the WWE United States Championship, a title worn by legends, fighters, icons. And Ilja earned it not through shortcuts or spectacle, but through everything that brought him from the shadows of his childhood to the global stage. He became United States Champion in his first reign, a reign built on passion, emotion, and an unstoppable will. And the way he holds that gold isn't like anyone else. For some, a championship is a belt. For Ilja, it is a symbol, a reminder of who he had to become to reach this point. Because for him, every victory carries a cost. A piece of his soul left in the ring. A piece he willingly gives because wrestling is not just his career. It is his language, his way of expressing everything he is. And that's what makes him so different from everyone else. When Ilja Dragunov steps into the ring, you know you're about to witness something special, not a performance, but a battle of emotion and will. The world sees a wrestler, but his story reveals something deeper. A child who learned to survive. A teen who learned to grow. A man who learned to rise. A champion who learned to transform pain into passion. Every scream he lets out in the ring carries meaning. Every strike is a message. Every match is a confession of the battles he fought long before he became a household name. He reminds us that strength isn't always about muscles, it's about heart. It's about spirit. It's about refusing to let life break you, no matter how many times it tries. Ilja Dragunov stands today as one of the most compelling characters in WWE because he is real. Not in the sense of wins and losses, but in the depth of emotion he brings to everything he does. He doesn't need flashy costumes or elaborate catchphrases. His presence alone tells the story of a lifetime. He represents the power of passion, the power of intensity, the power of resilience, the power of identity, the power of never giving up even when everything seems impossible. And that, Nation of Glory, is why his journey matters so much. Because Ilja's story is not just about wrestling. It's about life. It's about standing tall in the face of hardship. It's about believing in yourself when no one else does. It's about fighting through fear and uncertainty. It's about finding strength deep within. It's about transforming pain into purpose. As he continues his reign as United States Champion, one thing is certain, this is not the peak of his story. It's not the end. It's only the continuation of a journey that began long before cameras were ever pointed at him. His future holds more battles, more victories, more emotion, and more unforgettable moments. Because Ilja Dragunov is not simply a superstar. He is a testament to what happens when you refuse to let your fire die. And as long as he keeps stepping into the ring, the world will keep watching. We'll keep feeling. We'll keep believing. This is the story of a boy who became a warrior. A warrior who became a champion. And a champion who became a symbol of intensity unlike anything the wrestling world has ever seen. Thank you for staying with us on this emotional and powerful journey. If you enjoyed this story and want more inspiring journeys like this, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and share this video so more people can feel the impact of Ilja Dragunov's incredible rise. Thank you, Nation of Glory. Until next time, stay strong, stay passionate, and keep believing in your own story.